AskReddit by winter beers. What warning signs are you seeing that no one is paying attention to? Lack of well-reported local news. My local news is 85% stuff happening in other states. Reading comprehension is in the toilet. Reading comprehension and especially the understanding of nuance in reading. I can write something online like I'm not a huge fan of A, but I prefer it over B and so many people will read it as I love A and hate B. It's scary. Working as a PT in a hospital. I can tell you 90% of the chronic patients aren't getting enough treatment or medical resources. Are you telling me the 2 PT sessions they generously gave me for the accident that left me in a wheelchair for a year wasn't enough? But in all seriousness was taught how to sit up in bed and use my transfer board from my bed to wheelchair and then told my insurance doesn't cover beyond that. Teachers are quitting in droves. I'm a music teacher. Just last night I was talking to 2 of my colleagues who said they're not excited for performances anymore because they spend the whole evening herding cats and putting in a ton of mental and physical labor, and then go home and wonder how many angry parent or admin emails they'll get the next day. These are people who wanted to teach because they are passionate about their subject and want kids to have a great experience with it. It's super sad. Being in healthcare for almost 30 years, I will say, hands down, that the insurance you choose is actually more important than the doctor you choose. Your insurance carrier will dictate your care way more than your physician will. They decide what tests you get, when you can have them done, if auth is required, whether or not your doctor recommended surgery is truly medically necessary, and when you have to leave the hospital if you're ever admitted. If they believe you no longer meet medical criteria for IP care, you're out, no matter what your doc thinks or wants for you. If only we actually had a choice. Most Americans are stuck with whatever shitty coverage their employer provides. And most of those that aren't in that group have even shittier government options. Yay. Best healthcare system in the world. I see several. Public education and healthcare seem like they are on the brink of collapsing. People being priced out of housing is also a major issue. Wages not keeping up with productivity or inflation comes to mind. Healthcare is freaking scary. Staff shortages are reducing access to so many things. I have a referral to neurology. And X200B. I can't get in for 8 months. And X200B. I hope my problem isn't urgent. The collapse of public education is coming faster than any of us think. It's kinda already here in the inner cities. Talk to any inner city high school teacher about their kids' reading comprehension. Daffodils are growing in December in Ireland. I have daffodils flowering in my yard in New England right now. Generative AI will, and kinda has already, call into question the legitimacy of every single piece of digitally consumed content. Deleted. Mark Zuckerberg building a underground bunker in Hawaii. I was looking for this comment. He knows something we don't, that's for sure. The tiny harbingers of the breakdown of the social contract. Road rage, general lack of courtesy, immediate escalation for the smallest inconvenience. People just don't care as much and it's becoming a social contagion. Why would an individual act in everyone's interest when it seems like one can't always expect the same? Heavy on the immediate escalation of the smallest inconvenience. Large sea trawlers scooping up sand and depositing it on fake beaches like in Dubai. They are scooping up sea life and depositing it where it doesn't belong, where it will A, die or B, become an infestation. I grew up in Dubai and the dredging to create the Palms and World Island absolutely destroyed the local beaches we would go to. This was back in the early 2000s, so can't imagine the impact now. The fact that we're losing topsoil and bee colonies are collapsing. Not even just bees. I think honeybees are technically an invasive species, though that can be a complicated term. There are so many ingenious pollinators that have gone extinct or near extinct over the last few decades. I accidentally put ingenious instead of indigenous, but I'm going to leave it there anyways. We're going to have a critical shortage of service workers and essential workers. Hate to break the news to ya, but we're already there. Florida, and other parts of the country that are vulnerable to hurricanes, have large swaths of areas that are becoming uninsurable for homeowners insurance. Insurers are pulling out of Florida and California. The DOD is blaming American veterans for underwhelming enlistment numbers. Apparently, us complaining about how bad it is to be in the military is preventing them from pulling the wool over people's eyes. On that note, please educate yourselves on the rape sexual assault statistics across all branches of the armed forces and spread the word. I bring up rampant sexual abuse every time a recruiter somehow finds my phone number. It always ends the conversation. The thrift stores are filled with clothes from Shine. And those thrift stores are charging well above retail for them as well, so they eventually get thrown out. The immigrant students here in Ireland with English as a second language have better spelling, literacy, and vocabulary than the English-speaking Irish students. Few people in my year actually know how to spell properly, and it's appalling because never has there ever been a point in history where information has been so available online. Ireland's future generation doesn't know the difference between were and we're and there and there. Same problem with it's and it's here in the USA. And the spelling, oh boy. The Pentagon is somehow missing over $2 trillion from their 6th failed audit in a row. Our government is full of corrupt assholes and no one talks about it. Edit. What I'm getting at here is that there's a good chance the reason that money is incorrectly counted or even unaccounted for is simply because they don't want it to be. They don't want us knowing what their budget is used for. Thanks for the likes guys, and thanks for keeping the discussion civil. FTG. It's the same the world over. Here in Spain the previous king was doing all kinds of corrupt shit, and when he was called out on it he ran off to Saudi Arabia where he's being looked after by some billionaire friend of his. People don't say or do shit about it because everyone is too tired just trying to survive. There's a loneliness epidemic that already has taken root and is getting worse. Romantic and platonic relationships are at an all-time low, and forming new relationships seems as impossible as ever. This is only going to cause more mental health issues and premature health issues. I made a post because I've been struggling with loneliness for years now. It hurts when you're surrounded by people but don't feel included. The increase of anxiety-inducing posts on the internet lol. Right, this whole thread was a mistake to open when I'm trying to wind down for bed. Now I'm just kinda depressed. Ocean acidification. When I was 18 I did a 6-month-long study of this. We are fucked. No one cares. It's been over 20 years and no one cares still. I knew then that we were not going to make it out of the next century easy. As long as people have entertainment and are distracted, they don't care if the whole world burns down around them. Soon, and I mean soon, it will be completely impossible for the average Joe to look at what they think is a news report from a reputable news outlet and be able to tell if that news report, complete with video and photo evidence etc., is a complete 100% fabrication or not. I mean, not even a fabrication made by that reputable news outlet. Said reputable news outlet will be just as upset as you and I about this. The only hope we have is tech like what Intel has been working on, and I'm sure other, which uses AI to detect if something has been faked or not. But then your view of what is true and what is not is based on a piece of software written by a private company that you're just going to have to trust because you have no other option. You can't trust your own eyes and ears anymore. The final thing the party asked you to surrender. Except they didn't ask, it just happened. It doesn't really snow here anymore. We used to get at least a few inches 2 or 3 times per winter. It's been over 50 degrees the last 2 weeks. And an honorary mention, seems like there's fewer and fewer bugs around each spring and summer. Used to go outside and there would be tons of bees, butterflies, beetles, and of course, tons of mosquitoes. Now? Barely a fraction of that number. This is mostly the same here, central New York, except any missing bugs have been replaced by some super invasive stink bugs that came over here like a decade ago on a boat.